If you're a parent, you know it can be a struggle, even at the best of times. And parents, of course, are being told to push through and self-sacrifice when, in fact, prioritizing their own emotional health and mental health is the most powerful thing they can do for their kids.
So joining us live now this morning to talk about how to be a regulated parent and providing the best for everyone, including yourself, is the founder of Unshakable Parenting and parenting expert Vivian Meraki. Vivian, great of you to join us this morning. I feel like parenting is something we can never talk enough about because it affects everyone with kids, young kids, old kids. But I like this concept of why self-sacrificing is not a good thing. We hear that analogy of when there's an emergency on the plane, the air mask comes down, put it on yourself first so you can help those around you. And that's really the message here of why you should prioritize your own emotional well-being, physical well-being before dealing with all the other stuff, right?
Absolutely. Something that we've been told for generations probably is that self-love means self-sacrifice, but that simply isn't true. One of the problems with self-sacrifice is that when you're self-sacrificing, it ends up with a lot more bitterness, resentment, because you give away everything. And when you're giving everything away, you yourself start to disappear. And the problem with that within a parenting context is that your kids feel it too. And not only is it being modeled for them, but then that is where it starts to drift and disconnection can start entering the family.
What if people don't even recognize or notice that they are themselves disappearing, Vivian? What would you say to them to sort of give their head a shake and kind of figure out, hey, this is actually happening to me?
Well, I think that some of the things, even if you're not realizing it, it's how am I feeling? How, where's the joy? Am I waking up feeling like I have that connection with my children and the things that I really care about? And I think ultimately at the end of the day, it's choosing, even in the small moments yourself, what do you feel like having for breakfast? What's one thing that you can do that really feeds yourself? And I think that is a place where we start moving away from a complacency and being okay with being okay and moving into a place of more intention and presence for ourselves and our families.
Yeah, Vivian, we always kind of talk about also maternal guilt or that parental guilt. We have to do this for them, everything, be there because this is what's best for the kids, quality time. But what exactly does like a self-regulated parent looks like? Like, how do you know that you've reached that? When you don't want to like blow your brains out when you're dealing with your kids, is that the sign?
Yeah, so I think that a key thing to think about is regulation doesn't look like it's calm all the time. Regulation is awareness. It's about being aware of what's happening, and when you're aware, then you can make choices. Empowerment is in choices. So we can't change anything if we're not aware of it. And so when I think about a regulation, it's about just knowing where I'm at right now, how am I feeling. So something that I do with my children, if I'm having a bad day, is I'll say, I had a bad day. I need a moment right now, and I'm going to get to you in a little bit. And just take a little bit of that space for myself, and then come back and reconnect. And this does two things. One, it helps support me, but number two, it helps to signal to them it's not your fault, and I'm here, and we will stay connected. Just maybe not in this second.
I kind of sort of being honest and upfront with them and frank with them. I think kids can handle a lot more than perhaps we give them credit for. Vivian, the other thing that you mentioned that is so interesting, of course, there are so many families of divorce, where parents aren't together, or even parents just don't live together anymore. The sort of co-parent situation here, in some cases, there are some benefits to this as well, aren't there?
There really can be. And one of the things that I will talk to parents about is about that dynamic of the co-parenting and the primary caregiver, actually, in regular, like when you're still married. And we talk so much about emotional labor in the household. Emotional labor is really, feeling like you have to take care of everything, managing everything, paying attention to everyone else's emotions. And that is a real load. And something that I would suggest is actually, you're not responsible, actually, for everything. It's really about presence over perfection, presence over performance. And of course, it's busy and there's a lot of things that need to get done. But one of the things to introduce into, a marriage is really thinking about that division and going, within actually a co-parenting context, when people are divorced, there is a very clear forced division of labor. And so if you think about that in the context of marriage, and actually who's the primary person that's taking care of all the things this week with the children, et cetera, because that's a huge load. Sometimes that helps a lot of families, and I've had clients where that's really benefited before divorce.
No, that makes sense, right? Not having that resentment or tension with your partner because you're in this together. In my household, for example, my husband David does the math and French homework with my grade 7 child because that's his forte. You know what I mean? And I do the dentist appointments and all the other stuff, but we didn't really talk about it. But maybe sitting down, having a plan so that we know, kind of like household chores, this is my area versus yours.
Yeah, and I think it's leaning into everyone's strengths, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and working together. I think communication is really key.
It is
Absolutely.
indeed. Vivian, these are great tips. Really appreciate this morning. Thanks for coming in and having this conversation with us.
Thanks for having me.
Good to meet you. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Vivian.
Thank you.
Quick break
Appreciate it.
here on CP24 Breakfast. Back with your headlines right after this.